On to business now. Brian Quinn is joining us. He's studying in France today. Global Summit on Artificial Intelligence is kicking off in Paris today.
Indeed it is, Stuart. The Artificial Intelligence Action Summit is a 5-day gathering of political leaders, tech executives, scientists, and experts, all coming to the French capital to discuss the future of AI. Thursday and Friday are technical scientific forums with business and politics set to take center stage at the Grand Palais on Monday and Tuesday. Summit host France wants to be a global leader in AI. Back in 2018, President Emmanuel Macron launched a national strategy to mobilize €2.5 billion in public and private funds to develop homegrown applications. The country now counts roughly 1,000 AI startups. That's double what it had just 4 years ago. It is the top destination for foreign investment into AI in Europe. But competition is fierce, and the US and China in particular have a strong lead over European firms. ChatGPT parent OpenAI is valued at some $340 billion, while France's Mistral AI is valued at just $6 billion. Even those valuations, though, were upended last week with the release of DeepSeek, a Chinese AI chatbot that is reportedly cheaper and much more energy efficient than its Western rivals. Macron, meanwhile, wants yet more investment into the sector, preferably at the EU level. Here he is back in May.
We are living through an accelerated technological shock. If we don't respond with the right public investment strategy, the players will look elsewhere and will be dependent on solutions coming from China and the US. We need to wake up and form a European investment strategy at the proper level.
And we're going to talk to our tech guru, in fact, Peter O'Brien, who's at that summit for us in the next hour, so stay with us for that. Now, next, China is challenging Donald Trump's justification for his latest trade war escalation.
They are. Beijing has officially lodged a complaint with the World Trade Organization over Trump's order to impose additional tariffs of 10% on all Chinese goods entering the U.S. In that complaint, China accuses the Trump administration of making, quote, unfounded and false allegations about China's role in the smuggling of fentanyl into the U.S. Trump has used America's opioid crisis to justify his emergency order, saying that China is not doing enough to crack down on shipments of fentanyl and its precursor chemicals into North America. Beijing says that's just a pretext for illegal protectionist trade policies as it takes its case to the WTO. The WTO, though, is unlikely to be able to help. Since 2019, its dispute system has been essentially paralyzed after the U.S. blocked the appointment of new appellate judges to replace retiring ones. Analysts say China's response to the latest Trump tariffs are likely aimed at negotiating a de-escalation of the trade war. Here's the Chinese Foreign Ministry on Thursday.
China is strongly dissatisfied with and firmly opposed to this. The measures taken by China are necessary to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. There will be no winners in a trade war or tariff war, nor will pressure or threats work on China.
Markets and Brian, what are we seeing?
So most Asian indexes, in fact, gained ground on Thursday following Wall Street higher as markets try to shake off a turbulent week of Trump-related trade uncertainty. A bit of a rally in the tech sector in China on DeepSeek enthusiasm. You see the Shanghai Composite and Hang Seng in Hong Kong each up around 1.2%. Nissan shares regaining more than 70% after a big sell-off yesterday as merger talks with Japanese rival Honda reportedly collapsed. The Nikkei in Tokyo up around 0.6%. European markets, meanwhile, opening slightly higher as well. Investors looking forward to a widely expected interest rate cut from the Bank of England later in the day. The FTSE in London up around 0.75%. It's a big day for earnings reports here in France. L'Oréal, Société Générale, and Vinci are all filing their annual results. The CAC 40 up around 0.25% ahead of those results.
Finally for business, France has a 2025 budget months after it was due.
Indeed, French Prime Minister François Bayrou survived 2 no-confidence votes in the French Parliament on Wednesday. With that, he has achieved what until recently seemed nearly impossible, passing the country's 2025 budget. The first part of the text includes budgetary measures, while the remaining focus on social security spending is expected to pass later this week. Eliza Herbert takes a closer look at what is in the long-awaited spending plan.
The French government has a goal of saving 50 billion euros and limiting France's deficit to 5.4% of GDP this year. Finally, it has a long overdue budget to help it get there.
The budget is an emergency measure because our country cannot live without a budget.
At its core is cost-cutting and tax hikes. France's highest income earners will face a minimum 20% tax on their incomes, and large corporations will be required to pay a special one-off levy on their profits, meaning 440 groups will have their corporation taxes increased by 20 to 41% in order to raise 7.8 billion euros. For consumers, there will be duties on fossil fuel cars and gas boilers, as well as an increased tax on air tickets based on whether flights are within Europe, long haul or for business. When it comes to spending, several ministries, including Labour, Culture and Ecology, will see their budgets reduced. One example includes spending on the environment, which will fall by almost 14% to 21 billion euros. And local authorities will also have to rein it in, with their budgets reduced by 2.2 billion euros in 2025. This text is a revised version of the one tabled by Michel Barnier late last year that ultimately toppled him from the top job. To appease France's fractured parliament, the new Prime Minister François Bayrou has had to make concessions, among which he has agreed to provide more money for public hospitals and abandoned a plan to cut 4,000 public teacher roles.
And we are seeing some relief for French debt on the bond market, Stuart, but still plenty of trepidation around that deficit.
Brian, thank you very much. Brian, we're business.